I am 84 years old and I made a mistake that almost destroyed the peace I spent my entire life building. Not when I was young, not when I was reckless, but at the exact moment I thought I finally understood what matters. And if you are 60, 65, or even 70, what I am about to tell you might save you from making the same quiet mistake because it doesn't look like a mistake at first. It looks like happiness. It feels like connection. And that's exactly why it's dangerous. I'm Henry. I'm 84 years old, and I've lived long enough to see this clearly. Nearly every time I meet someone now, whether it's at the grocery store or standing in line at the pharmacy, they ask me the same question. Always the same tone, always the same look. Henry, don't you want a partner? Isn't it lonely in that big house? And at first, it sounds kind. It sounds like concern, but it isn't. It's pressure. Quiet, constant pressure. The kind that slowly makes you doubt your own life. And if you hear it long enough, something inside you starts to shift. You start to look at your peace and wonder if it's actually emptiness. And that's where everything started to go wrong. So, before we go further, if this feels familiar to you or to someone you know, like the video, please, because you're not the only one who has felt this. Now, 5 years ago, when I was 79, I listened. I opened my door. I let someone into a life that had finally become calm. And I'm going to tell you something most people will never admit. I I never been more anxious, more exhausted, and more disconnected from myself than I was in that relationship. And it didn't start badly. It never does. Let me take you back for a moment. My wife passed away when I was 72. Cancer, slow, heavy, 2 years of hospital rooms, machines, and watching someone you love slowly disappear in front of you. And when it was over, the silence in my house wasn't peaceful. It was crushing. I would sit in the living room and stare at the television without turning it on. I would walk into the kitchen and forget why I was there. I wasn't living. I was surviving memories. But here's what nobody tells you: that pain changes, it softens, it stops shouting, it starts whispering. And in that quiet, something unexpected can grow. For me, it was routine, structure, control. I started waking up at 5:30 every morning, same time, every day. I would make a pot of black coffee, step outside, and sit on my porch in complete silence. No phone, no noise, just the sound of birds and my own breathing. That hour became sacred. It was mine, completely mine. And that's when I realized something most people never understand. Peace is not loud. Peace is quiet. And most people don't recognize it when they finally have it. I built a small workshop in my garage. I started working with wood again, sanding, shaping, building, losing track of time in the best possible way. I fixed things around the house. I read books I had postponed for 40 years. And slowly, my became mine again. By the time I turned 78, I wasn't lonely. I was stable, grounded, clear. But the world doesn't trust a man who is at peace alone. My daughter would come over every Sunday and look at me with concern. Dad, you're isolating yourself. Humans need connection. And maybe she was right. But here's the truth. Nobody says out loud, not all connection brings peace. Some of it destroys it. Then came the suggestions, the introductions, the subtle pushes. You should meet her. She's perfect for you. And after hearing that enough times, something inside you starts to crack. You start to question your own happiness. And that's the trap. I agreed to meet her. We had coffee. And I'll be honest, it felt good. She laughed. She listened. She looked at me like I still mattered. And that feeling is powerful because it makes you forget everything you built. One date became two. Two became three. And before I realized it, I was in a relationship again. And everyone around me was relieved. They thought I was back. But here's what nobody saw: I wasn't going back to life. I was walking away from it. And if you made it this far, please like the video and subscribe, because most people ignore these truths until they start feeling the consequences. And this is where the real problem begins. Not with one big mistake, but with 1,000 small ones. It started with a phone. Before her, my phone stayed on the kitchen counter. After her, it never left my pocket. Messages all day, calls if I didn't respond fast enough. And slowly, I stopped living my own day. I started reacting to someone else's, and that's when it hit me. Freedom is silent, control is constant. Then came the energy. At this age, energy is everything. I had a rhythm: mornings quiet, afternoons calm, evenings simple. She had a different rhythm: plans, movement, social events, always something happening. And every time I said I needed rest, I felt guilty, as if slowing down meant I was wasting time. So I said yes, again and again, and every yes cost me something. I was performing happiness while my body was running out of energy. Then came the money, and this is where reality becomes unavoidable. I spent 40 years building stability. At 84, there is no reset button. But relationships at this stage come with expectations: restaurants, trips, spending, and slowly I watched my savings go down. Night after night, I lay awake doing calculations in my head. Not because I was cheap, but because I was afraid. And fear should not exist in a life you worked this hard to build. When I tried to slow things down, I was told to relax, to enjoy life. But here's the truth: enjoyment without security is just delayed anxiety. And then came the moment I will never forget. One morning, I walked into my kitchen. It was early, my time, my silence, but she was already there. Noise, music, talking, planning. And suddenly my home didn't feel like mine anymore. My life didn't feel like mine anymore. And that's when it hit me harder than anything else. I hadn't added someone to my life, I had replaced my life with theirs. And that realization is terrifying because it means you abandon yourself without even noticing. 2 days later, I ended it. It wasn't easy. There were tears, guilt, pressure. But when she left, something happened I will never forget. I sat in my chair. I turned everything off and the silence came back. But this time it didn't feel empty. It felt like freedom. And that's when I understood something most people learn too late. Loneliness is not the absence of people, it's the absence of yourself. And solitude is not emptiness, it's ownership. Today I spend most of my time alone, but I am not lonely. I am full, full of my thoughts, my projects, my time, my life. Now, if this video resonates with you, subscribe now, please, because the next video might help you understand something that usually takes a lifetime to see clearly. At this stage in life, you've earned the right to calm, to space, to silence. And if someone enters your life and disrupts that, you are allowed to walk away. That is not failure, that is wisdom. So ask yourself this: are you truly lonely, or are you finally at peace? I'm Henry, and I'll see you in the next video.